Hey there, everybody. I have gotten a couple of messages on Twitter about writing for publications and the frustration that writers have sometimes about not having options to get paid for their writing. So I am about to sit down and write an article for a publication for free, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, my name is Kristen Iris. I am a developmental editor, book collaborator, and author, coach, and manager. And I tell all of my clients, fiction or nonfiction, that they need to be writing for publications that exercise editorial discretion. What I do not say is that you need to be being paid for your writing. Now, I want to say this up front. I believe that people should get paid for what they do, but payment comes in many forms. So I am 5 years into my business and I still am writing for free. Now, I have been paid to write before, and I've been published in a magazine that pays. I'm always looking for those things, but here's why I recommend free. So the argument is that from the writer who wants to get paid, they're frustrated because they are trying to establish their writing career, but they can't find a magazine, nobody wants to take them, and they don't think they should be writing for free because it devalues their stuff. And they're going to spend the time and it's going to benefit the magazine, so they feel like they should be financially compensated for that. So let's just flip this and talk about this from a different perspective, okay? Let's think about it from a marketing and advertising perspective. So I am absolutely willing to write for free because in exchange for that, I have access, I'm being granted access to the network of people that publication has, to their subscriber list. So if you're writing about, well, it doesn't matter, because even if you're a fiction writer, you can find a way to link topics that you talk about to the topics in your book and the content of your book. So I'm going to use a client of mine, Etaf Rum, as an example. She wrote the book, A Woman Is No Man. Hit the bestseller list, the New York Times bestseller list, among others, and has been a Read with Jenna Book of the Month pick, okay? Now, the topic of her book is about women immigrating to the United States under a different culture and the problems that they face there and the inequality that women face, okay? So she doesn't just talk about, writing. Too many fiction authors are just focused on talking about writing craft and all of that. And I'll take a side note here. Many of them are not qualified to do so because they've never been published by a publication that exercises editorial discretion and had their work vetted. So I'm saying avoid writing about that stuff and write about the topics, how you approach your work and why the topics that you're writing about are so important to you. I talked to another author that I gave her feedback on her novel when I was doing some acquiring for a publisher. And her novel called Rome, Kathy Armstrong, is about a homeless teenager, okay? So Kathy could take that and be writing about homelessness and the challenges that teenagers face, okay? So think about it that way. Nonfiction authors, of course, it's very easy for you guys because you're writing about a topic, okay? So let me get back on track here. So what you can do to build your platform is go out to publications that will allow you to write about what you are passionate about and your message and your topic, okay? So it doesn't matter if they don't pay, because you are going to be creating content that's going to be on their site, distributed to their subscriber list, that you can use to promote your own work. So this is really almost free advertising. It's going to cost you the hour or 2 hours that it takes to write a blog post, and some of you guys are faster at writing articles. So to me, that's a no-brainer, okay? And the other reason is, if you're thinking strategically and think about this in a really smart way. most of the publications that do not pay writers, the rights to your articles, to your work, reverts back to you after a short amount of time. So I have never written for a publication where my rights do not revert back to me. The reason for that is I get to leverage the subscriber network of the publication that I'm publishing in, whether it's print or online. They keep it for some, it's as short as 2 weeks, others, it's a couple of months, 3 months or so. And then the rights revert back to me, which means that I can now copy and paste that thing that I wrote that's been out there for a couple of weeks or months. I can put it on my blog, I can post it on a LinkedIn as a LinkedIn article, so I can use it in multiple places. Okay, now the other thing about this is, and why I really like online publications, and it doesn't even matter how big their subscriber list is, because, I mean, that's great if they have a big subscriber list, but people are not, there are so many publications and so many newsletters that until something gets really big and is a household name, people don't care or pay attention to how big or small the publication is. They care about the content that you are writing. Does it solve a problem for them, or does it entertain them, educate them, whatever? If it does that, fantastic. So don't get too hung up on the circulation size. So the other thing is that when I do that, I have control of that content in this way. And this is why I like online versus print. So in print, it goes out to its subscriber list, and maybe it's sold on the newsstand, and then that's it. You kind of don't have a way to disseminate that later. You can list it on your writing resume, which I do, but I can't really share that, which is why having the rights revert back to me is so important, because then I can copy and paste what I submitted to them and put it on my website. So it's still available on my website. But what I want is, I want to be able to use it on my website, but I also want to be able to refer people to my writing that's on another platform under another brand, because that is something that gives you credibility. Anybody can have a blog, okay? So your blog could be trash, okay? But if it's under someone else's brand, they've attached their reputation to it. So there's more credibility when somebody goes out and reads your article and they go, oh, cool, they're published by this or this, it's on this platform or that platform. So you get some built-in credibility because somebody else is willing to attach their brand to you. And that's why that phrase, a publication that exercises editorial discretion, it's a mouthful, but it's critical. I am not talking about posting on your friend's blog or something like that. I'm talking about finding platforms and online publications or print publications where you could be told, no, I'm sorry, your content is not good enough, your writing is not good enough, you don't meet the needs of our list, that kind of thing. Because those publications will give you more credibility, but they'll also help you be a better writer. Because the trick of being a great writer is to know who your audience is, figure out what they need, and figure out how to speak to them in a way that they want to have it, okay? And that practice of being rejected or working with an editor on the publications end, asking you to tweak it just a little here or there, is fantastic. All right, so I write as often as I can for those different publications, and I have several different platforms that I'm a regular contributor to. I do it for free, but it's really not for free, because I can get years and years worth of marketing from that without paying a dime. If you spend marketing dollars and market your business or your book on Facebook and Instagram and all these other places, you're churning out money, but it's for a short amount of time. And so with your writing, you are demonstrating, or, well, I'll get to that in a second. With your writing, you have control of putting that content in front of people. And as I've talked about in other videos, if all you ever say is buy my book, or I'm so awesome, or, I'm sitting here drinking coffee and petting my cat, that's really cute one time, but it gets really old. So you need to have things that you're constantly putting new information in front, not even new information, just presenting your message and what's important to you and your skill set as a writer in front of your prospective readers. So, and I'm sorry this is kind of wandering around, but it's really important. I want to capture this right now before I go to this article, okay? So, one of the things, particularly if you're self-publishing, because again, nobody's vetted your work, nobody's vouching for you, it's great if you're on Twitter and social media and sharing relevant information and all of that, but that doesn't let prospective readers know that you are a good writer and that you can follow a train of thought and keep them engaged for a while, okay? Whereas if you are writing articles and putting those out, people get introduced to your writing, to your tone, to your style, to what's important to you. And that tells them, that can give them a clue of what they can expect when they purchase your book. So it's really pre-advertising for your book in a very soft way, okay? So that's just a really critical component. So what I always try to do with clients is to say, nothing exists in a vacuum. Any piece of information that you get or strategy that you get, take it as if it's an object and turn it around in your hand. Turn it over and look at it and see all of the angles and say, how can I approach this in a different way to make this tool a multi-purpose tool? So while I 100% agree that writers should get paid for their work and that we should respect the work, it has an asterisk on it, because what do you mean by paid? And I think what we need to get over is the idea that unless money exchanges hands in a one-to-one type of an exchange, that somehow we're not getting paid or that we're getting screwed. So I really encourage you to go out, find some websites and things that you really like and feel like you could be a great contributor to. Pitch the editors, give them some topics that you could talk about, and just introduce yourself. It's really not that hard. And if you would like to have a quick phone chat with me, I'm always willing to give a little bit of my time for free to walk you through some of this, or put a comment below, because don't overthink it. This stuff is so easy. Opportunities are laying on the ground everywhere. It's just that we're not trained to recognize them and we don't know how to pick them up, okay? So I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to go and write my free article for this publication and be very happy about it, because I'm going to think about it long term. And I know how I'm going to use it to benefit myself. And I believe that while I'm providing value and benefit to this publication and to the readers of that publication, I 100% am convinced that in the long run, I am going to come out on top, even though I'm not getting any financial compensation. So that's the trick, is to figure out how everything that you do can serve others, but also can serve you in the long run. So get to writing, get to figuring out who you want to write for, and be a regular contributor. That goes a long way also. gather an audience on these different platforms. Oh, one last thing. If you're doing that, the other way that you can leverage that later, you're already going to have these relationships in place. And assuming that you haven't published your book yet, now when your book comes out, in your bio, you're putting your bio on all of these things. So your bio and your information is out there all over. And then you can start adding author of such and such book. So again, that's your long-term view. While you're writing your book and waiting for it to be published, you're contributing to these publications and just building up your credibility, establishing relationships. And then as soon as your book is published, you get to add that to your bio, and you've already got that in place, and you're not scrambling for more ways to develop relationships when you're working on your launch. So, all right, find something to write about, find a publication that matches it, get writing, do it for free, and be happy and be a long-term thinker.